First it was fun, then it was scary, then fun again, then spooky, but in a fun way.
Let's unpack the magic.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to another episode of the Team Unicorn Podcast.
Yeah, and we are going to be giving you a special kind of 2-week event here on the podcast page. We're going to be talking all about the MCU and Phase 4 specifically of the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided it might be better in terms of being able to talk about everything because there's so much that happened in this Phase 4. To break it up into 2 weeks, and we're going to focus 1 week on the shows and then the second week on the movies.
Yes. Plus, that'll give us a chance to watch Wakanda Forever after we get back from our trip and get something recorded. So we're going to do the shows first and then movies. And
so this will be week 1 of a 2-week Marvel event, I guess, on the Team Unicorn podcast.
Yeah.
That's kind of, it's weird, like a big event happening.
Yeah.
So we're going to focus primarily just on the MCU shows for this week. And then your episode next week will include the same format just with all the movies.
Yep.
And there's just been so much happening in Phase 4.
Yeah. And I've just been so excited to do this. Like specifically like talking like She-Hulk. Like I just feel like there's just so much to talk about with that show. So yeah, I'm very excited to talk about all the shows, and I know we have a couple of like honorable mentions. We're not gonna like include them in like our rankings or anything.
Yeah,
but we kind of wanted to just give them a little spotlight, I guess.
Yeah, because there's a couple of things that are that have come out so far or that are going to come out to kind of round out Phase 4 here. And they are the I Am Groot miniseries, the Werewolf by Night short film, and then the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. And at the time of recording, Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special isn't out yet. I don't even think it'll be out by the time our next MCU movie.
Yeah, I think, is that December? Or is
it comes out
late November?
No, I think it comes out on Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay.
Because it's like 1 month before Christmas. Oh,
gotcha. Okay.
And I was super impressed by Werewolf by Night.
I was too. And honestly, like I didn't think I was gonna like it. Like I was almost like, I'm okay if maybe you just watch it and I don't watch it. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by watching it and how much I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it's weird because like I know so we should probably preface any of this, especially if like Matt and Sarah from the from the Fan Club podcast are listening or watching. We're gonna get heavy spoilers in here.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited to see Ted, well, they call him Ted, but Man-Thing make his MCU debut in Werewolf by Night. He's such a weird, iconic character, and like I really think they made it very evident. And Kevin Feige came out and said this, like, this is canon to the MCU. Like, there's not to say that these characters won't show up. So like, it'd be really cool to see like Man-Thing just kind of hang out with like Moon Knight or Blade or Doctor Strange. Like they kind of seem to be all like that same realm of the MCU.
Yeah.
So that'd be really fun to see. But I was very impressed by Werewolf by Night.
Yeah. And I am really bad at remembering names, but the main girl, I don't know the actress's name, but I kept thinking she looked like Kristen Ritter. So that was really throwing me off, like when I was watching
You're
it.
not. Yeah, no, you're not Jessica Jones.
Yeah, I'm like, Jessica. But no, so like it just kind of threw me off just a couple of times because like my brain was like, it's Kristen Ritter, and I'm like, no, it's not.
And it was kind of nice that even for kind of like a special presentation from Marvel, they still got the Avengers Campus treatment like a lot of the other characters throughout the MCU. You got to go and see, I think her name was Ella Moonstone or Bloodstone.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with a lot of the characters in that realm of Marvel canon. But it was really fun to see, her kind of roaming around, and then you got, the werewolf kind of, creeping out and howling everywhere.
Yeah.
And they got that kind of exposure or that representation in Avengers Campus out at DCA in the Disneyland Resort, which I thought was really cool because they didn't have to do that by any means.
Like, and I don't think people were like really expecting that to happen.
I mean, I wasn't expecting when we saw Zombie Cap come out last year for Oogie Boogie when, you know, What If first premiered. I'm all for that. But, you know, it's nice that we're still seeing it's not just MCU movies that are getting this treatment, but it's also the TV shows that are getting this treatment. And, you know, just seeing more characters is just awesome in the parks.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the I Am Groot series was really cute.
Yeah, that was just a cute, like, they're super short. I think they're like
3-4 minutes a
yeah,
piece.
like they're not even that long because like the credits I think are like 2 minutes or something. But yeah, just super cute, just Groot doing Groot things and getting into trouble. And
like I know that like James Gunn is kind of distant and said like these aren't really like canon to like my story, but like they are kind of canon to the MCU. It takes place like in the events of Guardians 2. And I don't know, they're really fun to watch. Groot's super cute. There's so many different little versions of Groot, like him like becoming like a princess or a unicorn or a dolphin in like the swamp scene where he's just like putting leaves all over himself. It's really fun. They're just a nice little fun refresh for to kind of cleanse or to, you know, get your little taste of Guardians before the Christmas special and Guardians 3.
I'm so excited for that. Like
it looks phenomenal.
It really does. I think it's gonna be so good. Yeah, I don't know. Plus you got Elton John with Yellow Brick Road like opening it up and
oh no, that's Ant-Man.
Oh
yep. that's getting into Phase 5.
Yeah. My bad.
It's okay. But I do really like the fact that they're kind of tying in like all these little bits and pieces of the story from like, you know, Gamora's still missing. So Peter is upset about that. Peter's from Earth. So like it's around Christmas time. So Kraken's like, well, you know, maybe we should try to do something. And then their big idea is to go get Kevin Bacon, which is just a throwaway line from past movies. And it's just kind of like it's yeah, sure, let's get Kevin Bacon in on that.
And he's in the trailer. So like he's in there. I don't know like how much like more.
I think he's probably gonna be a pretty big part.
Yeah.
I just love at the end of the trailer, it's like Kevin Bacon is like running on like the street trying to get away from Mantis and Drax, and then Mantis is like jumping over like hedges and like people's yards. She's like, wee! So that'll be really fun to see.
Yeah,
that comes out at the end of November on Disney Plus, and that is going to tie in. That is canon to the story of the Guardians. They are filming that at the same time as Guardians 3 came out, so it'll be very fun to see how this all kind of ties in, and you know, if we get any like Easter eggs or hints as to where Gamora is.
Yeah, for sure. And then we get Ant-Man. Oh, my brain just working weird.
So let's kind of rewind back to early 2020.
Yeah.
And let's go back and start talking about the MCU shows. And the first show that came out was WandaVision.
Yes, WandaVision. Yeah, I don't remember. I'm trying to think like what we had like kind of heard about it before we actually like saw it, and I feel like they were pretty secretive. At least more secretive than they've been lately.
Oh, yeah.
Not a fan of that, but
I mean, I feel like I knew that there was like some sort of like we were gonna figure out. We obviously knew that the Vision was gonna be in it, so it's kind of figuring out like, well, how does Vision kind of
like how does he come back, I guess. Yeah.
How is he not unalive now?
Right.
And it was a unique approach to how they did the show.
Yes.
But like I really personally enjoyed it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I did too. I really liked you know, going week by week, like trying to figure out which like TV show they were trying to emulate like in the show.
Yeah.
So that was really fun. I do like the secretiveness of it all, because like you were in it for like a few shows before you could like, or a few episodes before you could like actually kind of
figure out like what was going on.
Try to piece together what the show was trying to,
because going into the first episode, it was strictly like this is just a TV sitcom set in the 50s. There's no rhyme or reasoning as to what you're watching or what's kind of going on with it. And then right at the end, that last little teaser where you're kind of now in present day and someone ominously watching this TV show on like an old tube TV monitor, and then it just ends.
Yep.
And then at the end of every episode where it just said please stand by, and like there would be episodes where I'd just be like, no, I need to know more.
Yeah, they did a phenomenal job, like with like the writing and just like the aesthetics of every show. Like they really went all in for like.
And not only that, but I feel like they shot those episodes like where they're kind of in like each decade of a TV show. Like the same way that those TV shows would have been. So there's a lot of practical effects. So there was a lot of, I remember watching like kind of, I think it was the Marvel Assembled special of it, where in the black and white scenes, like Vision's face was actually painted blue because it turned up better on the black and white camera.
Yeah.
Better than his like maroon. So they like for the first like 2 episodes, his face was actually painted in blue.
Yep.
So like just figuring out how to do it in the same kind of essence that these TV shows in the 50s, 60s, and 70s would have created these shows, or like all the practical effects where they're like things are actually on like fishing lines and they're kind of moving them up and down in the kitchen. So like that I thought was really, really fun and unique, and something like I don't think Marvel needed to take like all that time to do.
No,
but they did, and it was incredible.
And it kind of reminds me of like the old school Imagineering, like like Walt going around to like all his like Imagineers like back in the day, like what are you figuring out, like what can we do to,
and it
like,
was
make
all
this...
just practical effects and people just like I use the phrase a lot, like just MacGyvering things how to work. And we got a lot of callbacks to earlier projects in here. We got Jimmy Woo back from the Ant-Man series. We've got Darcy, I love awesome. Darcy's one of my favorite characters in the MCU, and I'm so glad that she was able to come back. But I think one of like the big things that like stands out about this series is Agatha.
Oh yeah. And the song.
And it was Agatha all along.
Who wrote the song?
The Lopezes.
Yeah, the Lopezes. So if you're not familiar, they wrote the music for Frozen. So yeah, like, and you can kind of tell, like, because when we were listening to it, you're just like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like they would write this. And I think they were taken by surprise by like how much that song like blew up. Like that was really fun.
Yeah, and something that we'll get into when we finally get to talk about She-Hulk, but there was a lot of like an indirect or like little subtle fourth wall breaking in this TV show too, like with especially when you got towards the 90s and like early 2000s TV shows, like you'd see like Wanda talking to the camera.
Yeah, but that's like in the style of, because I think Modern Family does that. So that was the style of the show. But then it was nice, like as the audience kind of getting.
Or then you get that peel back, especially during Agatha All Along. You realize it was Agatha all along, and then you kind of see her kind of turn around and she's in the director's chair during the Modern Family-esque version of the show. So it was nice to see that little bit of fourth wall breaking, or just a little bit of just like, oh, there's an audience out there that's like watching this, and like we're conscious of that, which She-Hulk got into spectacularly.
Yeah. I was gonna say, do you like fourth wall breaking? Or
I do. I do. It's very prevalent in the Deadpool comics and series, and especially in the Deadpool movies. Like that happens all the time. I'm a big Deadpool fan, so I do like the fourth wall breaking. I just know that probably for like a casual MCU fan or someone that isn't familiar with that, they're probably thrown off by that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I like it too. And correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't She-Hulk the one that originated the fourth wall breaking, or was it Deadpool in the comics?
In the comics,
I heard it was She-Hulk, but I didn't know. I should have looked it up, but I wasn't sure if that was correct or not.
It sounds familiar. Okay. I can't say for certain whether or not who did it first.
So I'm like, how I don't know what the right word is, but of course like a girl would do it first, but then like a man is known for doing the fourth wall break. So
I mean, if you don't want me here on the set,
no. I just trying to, like, I'm getting ahead of myself, like getting into like the themes of She-Hulk. I'm just so excited to talk She-Hulk.
Right.
But
any last things you want to kind of discuss on WandaVision, or anything you have in your notes?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. Monica Rambeau.
Oh yes, that was a nice introduction to Monica.
Like I don't know, I'm super excited. I love Captain Marvel, so like I was really excited to like have Monica back, and then like for the new Marvels movie, really excited to see how that's all gonna work, especially their dynamic. You know, because obviously she's a little upset with Miss Marvel.
Yeah, and it'll.
So
it'll be interesting to see how they all combined in the Marvels and like what that first interaction between all three of them are going to be. Because I just feel like, you know, Miss Marvel is just going to be kind of like fangirling out, but then there's going to be so much tension between.
Captain Marvel. Sorry, Captain Marvel and Monica.
Yeah, between Captain Marvel and Monica. There's just going to be like a lot of tension, and like they've kind of picked up on it a little bit in WandaVision, but like. They left it very much like we'll address this later.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, the interaction. And then like so like WandaVision, like when I first saw it, like I thought it was so good. Like I really enjoyed the show. But then like when Multiverse of Madness came out and they just kind of like extended Wanda's grief and kind of like rehashed all of WandaVision. I don't want to say like it ruined the show, but it kind of like I don't like it as much. I'm not sure. Like it just kind of like just rehashed everything, and I didn't really like that.
And I kind of have that in my notes from when we finally talk about Multiverse of Madness next week. I think that how much effort they put into fleshing out Wanda's character in this series, they definitely took like one step forward and then two steps back when it came to Multiverse of Madness, which I don't appreciate. And we'll get into that a little bit more, but I could see where you're coming from, where it's just like, you know, there was so much character building and emphasis in Wanda's story here. And then for it to kind of almost get, I don't know, like washed off a little bit when it comes to Multiverse of Madness. Because you're definitely seeing Wanda, but it's a version that you don't expect to see after the events
so it's just going back and like rewatching, I guess, you know, just like knowing what we know now. So like at the time, like, you know, when we first watched it, I'm like, yes, this is great. But now like I'm just like, I mean, it's still good, but it's I don't know, it just kind of maybe goes a little bit lower on my list, I think.
Okay. But little tease for where we're gonna rank these at the end here. So yeah, I think that's all I kind of had in my notes here. I'm very excited to see where White Vision kind of ends up at the end. I actually just read last night that Disney Plus is kind of maybe in production or maybe starting to think of a Vision Quest series regarding White Vision, and just seeing like where his story goes, trying to deal with what happened with Wanda and Westview, and you know what happens there. And we've heard little bits and pieces that, you know, maybe he might show up in Armor Wars, or he might show up in a different movie down the line, but he's got to show up somewhere because his story is it's not finished yet.
Same with Agatha too.
Yes, Agatha's getting her new.
They changed the name of it now because it used to be.
It's Coven of Chaos.
Because it used to be
House of Harkness.
Yeah, Coven of Chaos. So I'm excited. I really enjoyed her character.
Catherine Hahn is the best.
Yeah, she really is. So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. Yeah, for like the characters that they put in here, like they're, you know, branching out into like to their own shows and movies, and so I'm excited to see where they go.
Yeah. So that started off phase 4 of the MCU TV shows. The next show on the list we have is The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yes.
And this was when they first announced all the TV shows. This was probably the one that I was most excited for right off the bat until I heard about Miss Marvel.
Right.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier, two of my favorite characters from my favorite franchise, with my favorite character in the MCU.
Yeah.
Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie, their chemistry is just incredible on set.
Yeah.
Anthony cut the check. And he definitely cut the check in this series.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like I don't really read too much into like other people's like reviews and stuff. Or at least I didn't. I do more so now. But I guess I didn't realize like how many people like didn't really like enjoy this show overall, and like I'm always surprised like when people do like their own rankings, like how low on the list this one ends up falling. but I really, really liked this show.
Yeah, me too.
I really liked like Sam's struggle, especially like in the beginning, because he's like, you know, giving the shield up, you know, he's like, no, I don't want to like take up like this mantle. Like he just, you know, is gonna do like,
And
you know, like just that struggle that he
yeah.
had.
And like it kind of, it's an internal struggle where like he, I don't think that he doesn't want to have the mantle. It's just he struggles with the fact that knowing like there's people that don't want him to have the mantle.
Mm-hmm.
So he just feels like it's just better off for him if he doesn't have it.
Yeah.
And that is very much how the comic arc runs when he takes over. How he gets the shield is a little different.
Yeah.
But I in my notes here I have there's a lot of strong comic ties to his story, and I think his name is Joaquin. No, his like companion in the military.
Yeah, I can't think of his name right now.
I can't think of it either. And like he's in the comics, he becomes like the new Falcon for Sam's cap. And speaking of comic tie-ins, we got Isaiah Bradley in this, and seeing his story and struggle of being like essentially the first Black Captain America, and how that, you know, effectively traumatized him. And
because I think he says, I think I have I don't know if I wrote down the quote, but yeah, so he was the first Black super soldier whose history was essentially erased.
Yes.
And then he tells Sam they will never let a Black man be Captain America because they like essentially covered him up and like tried to erase him. Mm-hmm. Hence why nobody knew about him.
Right.
And it's just so like, I'm not sure what the right word is, but like there was a lot of stuff going on when this show came out, because it came out in 2020. Mm-hmm. And then there was like the whole George Floyd thing that was going on with, you know, with all of that, and then watching this show at that time, it was like, very appropriate for the times it came out. Yeah, for sure. And it still is relevant today. And I think that's why like I just I love this show, and I love that they put this in there, because when they do show Sam in his Captain America suit and he is a Black man being Captain America, like I cried. Like it was just so emotional. And then just the thought of like people of color, like little children, seeing that, and they're just, you know, like seeing somebody that looks like them being like this iconic superhero. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, it just warms my heart, and it just gives me the feels. And like, yeah, and then it was just so relevant for the time that it came out. Like, right. it just kind of come out at a more perfect time, I think. I
really enjoyed the stories, and we're starting to see them now that Black Panther is just gearing up, or Wakanda Forever is just starting to gear up to come out. But like a lot of children of color are seeing like a superhero that reflects them and reflects their everyday struggles, which, you know, kind of is what Black Panther and T'Challa were for, you know, children a couple years ago. Yeah. And then now with this one coming out, like, yes, T'Challa, he is the first Black superhero, you know, that came, you know, in the Marvel, kind of the main character in the Marvel universe here. But, you know, then seeing, like you said, it's not only a Black man taking up the mantle of a superhero, but such an iconic superhero as like, this is the American star, this American figure, this icon. Like, mm-hmm. It's just as iconic as like Rosie the Riveter or Uncle Sam. Like, you have this character that means so much and represents that flag. Yeah. And I guess speaking of, you know, how much that character represents to America, or, you know, what that title of being Captain America is meant, and how Sam really takes it personally. Yeah. We do get the opposite, or kind mm-hmm. of an anti version of Captain America in this series with John Walker.
Yeah. The guy we just love to hate.
I think if he was in our Battle of the Baddies bracket, he might have gone pretty far.
He probably would have gone so far. Like, he just... Yeah, like I just wanted to punch him in his face. Like,
and Wyatt Russell plays it just phenomenally. Oh my gosh. Like you hate the guy so much. You hate the character. You just want to, like you said, you want to punch him square in the teeth. And like, you can't do that not appreciate the actor who's playing
Oh
them.
yeah, like if you hate him that much, he's doing
He's
a
doing his
pretty
job.
good job. Yeah, I mean, he just like it's just everything, like he's just everything that Captain America is not, and he's like trying so hard, but it's just not working for him. Like
like that scene where he's like, he basically is trying to get revenge because his sidekick was killed.
Yeah.
And then goes off and kills one of those flag smashers in public, and just seeing the shield with the blood.
Oh my gosh.
It was so intense.
That was so intense.
This is the first time I'm just like, okay, Disney Plus needs to put some parental guides on this.
Yeah, I know. And people are all worried that like, oh, it's a Disney show and they're just gonna like tone it down. Like, I don't think, I mean, they could have went obviously worse, but like, I don't know. I thought it was pretty intense, and I thought they did a really good job. Like,
or even earlier in the scene, I think it's actually later in the series where Sam, Buck, and Agent Walker are kind of fighting, and they go and break Agent Walker's arm.
Oh,
like completely snaps it back and like takes the shield away from him.
Yeah.
Like, oh
yeah,
it's so gruesome.
It is.
So I guess in whole, what did you think of the series?
I really enjoyed it. I liked the plot line with like, because I liked Carly, is it Morgenthau? Morgenthau. I liked her character, and I think that she and like the Flag Smashers, like you could kind of tell where they were coming from. So you could, I don't know if empathize is the right word, but you could kind of empathize with them. But yeah, like I thought the plotline was easy to follow. Like I didn't think it was like, I don't know, like too messy. But I do like the characters that they brought in, because obviously you have Sam and Bucky, but then they bring in Sharon Carter. Really love her, and I loved like her, storyline too. Like Power Broker and all of that. And then we get Baron Zemo. Super fun. Yeah, you get him like dancing at the party. And you get the Samdora Milaje coming in too. Like, so yeah, I don't know. Overall, I really liked this series, or this show. Like I thought it was so good. Yeah, just seeing Sam take up the mantle, seeing him in his new,
when he breaks through that the window in the building right at the final episode, and you see that Wakandan made suit for Cap. And it's so comic accurate. It looks fantastic. Like just how he's able to utilize like his new wings and his new suit. It was just chef's kiss. However, I'm going to get a little critical of this series.
Oh, okay.
Now, I feel like this, out of any of the shows that we're going to cover, this is probably the series that I was the most critical of, because I was expecting so much out of it. Now, I'm not one of those fanboys where like, I don't like it, I hate it because, they made Thor a girl or something like that. No, this was one that like I was really personally like looking forward to the most at that time. Like I said, these characters and like just the Cap series in general, even back in the comics, like this means a lot to me. So like I was very kind of nitpicky with it. I didn't like Carly Morgenthau.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that she seemed intimidating. At times it almost seemed like Cap was fighting against a little girl. I mean, and I don't mean to say that to like put her down by any means, or to say like she's a girl, so she wasn't. I'm not saying it like that. It's just, it to me, it just didn't seem as an intimidating threat as it, having like Batroc or Zemo be the main villain, which we kind of thought was going to be the case when we heard that Zemo was coming back.
Yeah.
I feel like they were trying to capture a lot of what the Winter Soldier did, and being kind of like this spy espionage, like kind of thriller, but kind of make it on a worldwide kind of scale. I felt like that's kind of what they were going for. And in parts, I do feel like they did achieve that. but I just didn't really care for Carly's character. It didn't seem like it was like that really big of an operation that like they could have like taken down like countries if they needed to.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they kind of betrayed Sharon's character a little bit. I know. I felt like her storyline. Like I love seeing Sharon there.
Yeah.
Sharon is one of the the best characters that come out of the Cap series. But I just feel like I don't know. Like she just kind of played too many sides, and her like to me her story was a little bit like not hard to understand, but just frustrating to see her as a character kind of just be like so
Yeah.
ambiguous.
Well, and I think some like I don't know, maybe they just didn't really know what to do with her because the last time we see her is in Civil War, right?
Yeah, she just helped Cap get his shield back.
Yeah.
And then I think at one point didn't she go and like interview for Stark Industries or something? Like she was interviewing with like Pepper or something. No, that was
Oh.
Colby Smolder. That was Agent Hill.
Okay. Yeah. So I think like the last time we see her like is the kiss like with Cap and her.
Yeah, so
or,
it's
like,
been a while
somewhere.
since we've seen her.
Yeah, and even then, like I feel like they were like trying to make like it a love interest like with which I think is just icky. Like I don't like that. So I don't know. So I kind of like this because like I feel like in Civil War you kind of get like. Well, because like she's trying to play a nurse, and like she's undercover, so you don't really know much about her, to be honest.
She's definitely doing like playing both sides type of. She's definitely in that espionage, but like I don't know, like it's like, her storyline in this, I guess, just seemed a little convoluted for me to go from like good to bad to good to bad, and then at the end when she's kind of like walking down the steps of the Capitol, and then now she's gonna like she kind of seems like she's going to be up to some devious stuff.
Yeah.
So I think like it'd be a good spot for her to come back in the Thunderbolts. I think like her character would make sense to come back in the Thunderbolts, especially with how close tied she is to Zemo, which should be in the Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
And John Walker. But I don't know. Like I feel like I just felt unsatisfied with what her character arc was.
Okay.
At the end of it.
See that.
So. And again, I'm just trying to be as critical. I'm not trying to be critical. I feel like I am critical just because of how much like I really enjoy these characters.
And definitely between the two of us, you're definitely more critical of things. Like I'm just like I love everything. Well, mostly everything. But no, I can definitely see that. But I guess given like I don't really know much about Sharon, like I'm just like okay, I can get on board with this. Like
yeah, and I mean it does seem like. The stuff that she was doing was kind of in character, but like I guess the MCU version of it, like I don't know if I just it kind of just it threw me off.
Yeah, I don't know. And I guess like the little that we did get from Civil War, like I feel like she was just trying so hard to do the right thing. Like she was on Cap's side and like wanting to help and do everything right. And then she just at the end of the day, like she was a fugitive, like, so like trying to do the right thing, like kind of, I don't know, bitter in the butt, I guess, kind of thing. So then it just kind of turns her heart, I guess. I don't know.
I will say, and it's nice to see like the universe kind of expanding out a little bit. Because I mean, I guess when you're looking at at the end of Phase 3, like a lot of the stuff, I guess, other than like Avengers, because they were kind of planet hopping or kind of going to like Wakanda, like a lot of stuff kind of seemed like it was kind of centralized, or like even when you're looking at WandaVision, like everything was just in New Jersey.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But when you go to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you do get like Louisiana, or you're kind of going to Madripoor, or you're kind of going a little around the world a little bit, and we get a little bit more of this. It's kind of back and forth, like a lot of the MCU shows, like some of them are very like distinct, just kind of take place in one place during one set time, and then there's other ones where it's kind of like, hey, we're going across the world and having some time fun here. So it's nice to see a story like this where you do get a sense like this is more than just a New York kind of hub, or this is more than just like a US centric issue. Like we are seeing the Dora Milaje. We are seeing European countries in here, or like Asian countries in here. So like it's nice to expand the MCU's reach.
Yeah, I do like that. All right.
The next TV show that came out after that was
Loki.
And I feel like this is kind of a love-hate relationship for both of us.
Yes. Like, so I just...
Would you like to tell us how much you love time traveling in different different timelines?
Yeah, no, I don't like it. Like, I mean, I guess I don't mind it if there's like clear, I guess, rules or like how the timeline works, or like time travel works, and like what I guess is okay to do, and then like what's gonna get like messed up or altered like in the future if you are going back in time, like what's gonna change. Because I don't know if we have to have another discussion or I just need to rewatch the movie again, but Endgame just gets me every time, and I don't understand how Cap can go back, put all the stones back, and have his life with Peggy, and everything still that we know the MCU to be okay. Like, I don't get how that works. So if somebody wants to like explain it to me, be my guest. So yeah, so like when I figured, like when Loki was unfolding and like it's all about time travel and timeline and all of that, like I'm just like, here we go.
Yeah.
And not like super excited, I guess.
So I think that's probably like the biggest issue I know you had was just how do these different timelines and these branch realities, because they make such a huge deal about like this sacred timeline. There's only one timeline.
Yeah.
We can't, we can't have these branch realities. We need to start pruning them, or pruning these realities or these timelines if things start to get too, out of whack.
Right.
But then to hear Renslayer be like, oh no, like the Avengers time traveling and going back to New York to get a stone to beat Thanos.
Right.
That was all part of the original.
That was approved.
That was approved. That was a plan. That was a part of the plan all along of the sacred timeline. So then when Loki's just like, well, I shouldn't be the one being, executed or be put on trial for this. Like, look what the Avengers did.
Right.
Like, yeah, that makes total sense. Like, he shouldn't be. But then, like, it kind of seems like when you're at this TVA, like, things are just wonky there. Like, this timeline, they go strictly based off of this, whether or not it's a real thing. Infinity Stones aren't a thing there.
Oh my gosh, you had to get a whole drawer full of them.
Right.
Like,
so it was... They had built so much up in time in phase 3 about this one, and we throughout the the 10 years of MCU movies, it's all just kind of everything is interconnected, everything is all canon, everything makes sense. And then you get into a show like Loki and they're like, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
And then that's why it kind of frustrates me. And I use the phrase like take backsies. Like, I feel like people or like movies or shows can like do like time travel as a way to like have something really huge and big, like Loki dying. But then it's like, oh no, he actually just found like a loophole in like this time travel thing. So we kind of like take it back, I guess,
Yeah. And I think that's a lot of the criticism from like the original X-Men movies. Was like I think the term you're looking for is retcon.
Oh, sure. Like, I guess if you're more sophisticated.
Yeah. I think the term that you mean is retcon.
I like take backsies.
So, and I feel like that's probably like a huge criticism of that series or that franchise is because there was a lot of retconning. Like, oh, this happened. No. Like, this is actually how it happened, or this is, we're going to fix this. In the term of how this Loki comes into play, I don't think it's an issue with retconning. I do think it's in a unique way, and I do think it makes sense the way, like, you are getting Loki back, but it's not the same Loki. You're getting the 2012 Loki that didn't have this huge character development or this change of hearts to become this redemption story. You're still getting Loki who is dealing with Thanos trying to steal one Infinity Stone. So he eventually, learns that real quick, and you get to a point where like, Loki is back on that redemption story, but it's still two different Lokis set in two different
Yeah.
timelines, but it's the same Loki. So does it make sense? Sure. Does everyone gonna like it? No.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And I guess, yeah, for me, like, I guess, like, how you were saying in, like, Falcon and the Winter Soldier about, like Sharon's story and, like, how it was just kind of harder to follow. Like, for me, like, that was, like, Loki. Like, I feel like, for me personally, like, it was just harder to follow. And there's just so much. Like, I feel like there was just so much information and words and phrases being thrown into this show that it just kind of, like, at times I'm just like, what am I watching? Or, like, how am I understanding this? Like,
yeah, and I think that was probably part of, like, of the writing was probably meant to try to make it a little bit, like,
yeah,
ominous or confusing. So, like, you never knew what to expect. You didn't know, like, really what was going to happen. I guess other than, like, the timeline, are there anything that kind of stand out on the show, or are there any things that you kind of liked about it?
Alligator Loki.
Yeah, all the different variants were awesome.
I thought that was fun. Yeah, I really liked Alligator Loki. That's just so random, but I really like that. I'm trying to think. Sylvie was okay. As a character.
Yeah.
I think it was a little weird, like, I guess, like, the love interest thing between them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I love it or hate it, or I'm just kind of like whatever about it.
And I think in general, especially with Sylvie and how her and Loki's, I guess, relationship kind of blossomed. If you want to use that as a word. I remember early on when Loki was still in production, it was hit hard because of the pandemic and COVID.
Yeah.
And I had heard or had read multiple stories where it seemed like they kind of implied that Loki was meant to be a longer season, maybe like 12 episodes.
Yeah.
But because of COVID, it was shortened. And then there was the first series where we got the confirmation right away, like, yes, Loki season 2. Like, they told us right at the end of the finale, like, season 2 is underway. So I don't know if the relationship aspect, or like how things kind of happen between Loki and Sylvie, seemed a little rushed or convoluted, just because, like, they had to try to fix things in such a small amount of time because of the COVID constraints or not. But it definitely seemed like there were some things missing from this series that maybe not have been purposely, left out, but just because of COVID, they couldn't get to getting you that answer.
Right. Yeah.
So I think if this was like a full, like, 12 episode series, or like a 9 episode series, like, we probably would have got more of those that fleshed out answer, and that relationship.
Right.
And maybe Sylvie would have seemed like, Sylvie's not my favorite character of any of the MCU.
Yeah.
Characters that have come out, or these new characters. I know she is a main character in this TV show, but she's, probably not my favorite Loki variant out of all of them. But
yeah,
I mean, I still like Sylvie. Like, she's it's a character that I think that once I get more, experience with,
sure,
or we get more exposure to, like, I'll like Sylvie. But
yeah, I guess for me, she's just okay.
Yeah, she's just okay.
Yeah, Mobius I really liked. I liked his character. I thought he was really fun, and
I was really hoping to see, like, he get his jet ski at the end.
Yeah. And then I guess the big guy at the end, Kang,
yes.
What did you think of him? And
it was nice knowing prior to the show coming out that Jonathan Majors was casted as Kang, and he was going to be in Loki as it's he who must something.
He who remains.
He who remains. Yeah. Yes. So, like, I knew going into it that he's a variant of Kang. If someone didn't know that, or knows nothing about Kang, or nothing about multiverses, or nothing about variants,
me,
his character probably seemed a bit ominous and a bit strange.
Yeah.
So, and I think that, again, they probably could have did more with it had they had more, episodes or screen time. but he's definitely like menacing, but in like a very like calm, chaotic way.
I was gonna say, like, he's very like, yeah, I guess calm is probably like a good word to describe him. Like, he's very calm, but he's very like serious.
He
Like,
reminds me a bit
he's
of
very like meaningful, I guess, like when he's like speaking, like, you know, like what he's.
He reminds me a bit of Heath Ledger's Joker, where like
Oh, sure.
it's not always just like violence and
Yeah.
gore, but like he's just got that weird way of speaking.
Yeah.
And just it's almost like a psychotic menacing.
Yeah.
And it'll be nice to see this character kind of be that full like King the Conqueror character once we see Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. But it's a nice little taste, nice little tease of what's to come with Jonathan Majors, and that'll be interesting to see how menacing he truly is. Because I remember hearing the Comic-Con footage.
Oh yeah.
And him and Ant-Man are having a conversation, and Ant-Man's like, "I'm Ant-Man," and King's like, "Have I killed you before?" And I'm just like, "Ooh, like this is gonna get good."
Yeah.
But yeah, all in all, Loki was just okay for me.
Yeah, same here. Like, I don't know. Well, and like Loki just isn't one of my favorites characters in the MCU, and I mean, obviously like the show plays a big role in what's to come for phase 5, obviously.
Yep.
So I think it sets up a lot, but yeah, and maybe I just need to go and like re-watch it again. That would probably help, but overall, yeah, I mean, it was fine. I didn't hate it. You know, there's very little I think that the MCU puts out that I genuinely hate or like don't like.
Yeah,
So.
we'll get into that next week. Yeah, so yeah, it's okay. It just seemed very rushed, a little convoluted.
Yeah, that's stupid time travel. Like,
yeah, that time travel just got to you.
It always does.
But I guess speaking of time travel, now that we have all these branched realities, and you know, the MCU is what it can make it of itself. The next series that came out was What If?
What If? Yeah, so that was, I like the concept of it. Like, I like kind of going back and be like, well, what if this happened instead of this, or this character, like, I don't know. So I like the concept. I just, I don't know. Like, it definitely wasn't my favorite show.
So, the What If series, it was kind of it takes its roots very much from the comics. There are comics for decades now of these what if scenarios. What if this happened? What if that happened? What if something had changed in here? And you kind of get like a little smaller backstory, or a little side story, I should say. And I was excited for this one because it was the MCU's first foray into a different medium, which was animation.
Yeah.
Which I think lent very well to what we were, expecting, or what we were getting out of this series. Like, we knew it was animation, so we knew it wasn't, I guess we didn't think that it was going to be, timeline canon specific. But then Loki came out, and then we were like, oh, yeah, this is canon to the MCU.
Yeah,
these do make sense to the MCU, and these are all just those branched realities that the TVA might not have clipped.
Yeah.
Some of the episodes I really, really enjoyed, like Captain Carter.
Oh yeah, and that was the first one. So
starting off strong.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if they maybe should have saved that one later, like just for me personally. But then like I kind of got just like a little frustrated because I'm just like, I really wish we could have seen Haley Atwell like in like Captain America like gear, just like to see her play that role again. So then I'm just like, I wish it wasn't animated just for that aspect. But yeah, I really liked that episode. And then I think my other favorite one was T'Challa as Star-Lord. I really enjoyed that episode.
And he actually won an Emmy for that.
Yeah.
For that episode. And another episode that stands out for me was the zombies episode. I know that you do not like that one.
No, I don't like that episode.
I really loved the zombies episode. I thought it was so unique, seeing like just this demonic Scarlet Witch, like Cap just kind of falling apart. It was really funny seeing Ant-Man just like his head in a vase with Doctor Strange's cape. Like it was
Yeah.
just
Oh gosh.
it just really dialed up just like the strange and the weirdness to it.
Yeah.
They are going to be making a separate Marvel Zombies series for
Mhm.
this, which I would assume takes place in that same timeline that this happened.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. I think it's so much fun. It's a unique take, and it's just kind of like, I don't know, just a little like, it's strange and gory, but I like it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's different. Again, I didn't hate it. Yeah, probably just not one of my favorite things, but yeah, there were some episodes and some parts I did enjoy. And I did like, because at the beginning I thought they were just like kind of just little like one-off stories.
Yeah, me too. I
You
thought the
know,
same
like
thing.
I didn't really think that they was gonna like really tie into anything bigger. I didn't really think it was gonna like tie into like the MCU like as we know it right now. But I kind of like that, that there was like a bigger storyline at the end, with kind of everything that we saw and like the characters coming together, so I did enjoy that. Like it was something I wasn't expecting really, like, because yeah, I just thought they were just
Yeah.
kind of one-off stories and that was gonna be
It
it.
was really cool seeing that kind of like Avengers-esque, like
Yeah.
360 kind of pan around on there. And then just like, I remember like, this came out around the same time or a little bit before Multiverse of Madness came out. So then I remember when we were kind of getting ready to see Multiverse of Madness, my mom would ask us like,
Oh, yeah, like what does she
what
need to
MCU shows do we need to watch? And we're
Yeah,
like,
we
well,
thought she had to watch so much
yeah,
and like you really
you
didn't.
didn't have to. So
No.
that was something that kind of threw me off. Or like,
Yeah.
it kind of made it seem like, hey, like,
It was
what
gonna be
if
huge.
it's going to be huge going forward here? Like, this
Um
is going to do a lot towards the greater MCU. It didn't. Like, I feel
Mm-mm.
like you probably didn't need to watch any of it to get it,
No.
but there was a lot of cool tie-ins to, especially Doctor Strange's character starting off in that zombie episode. Well, he has his own episode too, which is so super sad.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Very
but like
sad.
those episodes seemed like it was going to take a bigger role in the Multiverse of Madness, just based on what you were seeing in
The
the
trailer.
trailers. And yeah, they kind of do the same thing, but like, I don't think it was necessary. Like, it wasn't required watching
No, like
at
if you
all.
didn't see them, like you weren't like
But you did get, like you had wanted, we did get to see
we did
Haley Atwell.
for like 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
And she got sliced it
yeah.
up. But finally seeing like, Haley Atwell as Captain.
And I hate it because it was spoiled for me. Like the one thing I found out about multiverse, like I should save it for our other episode, but the one thing I found out about Multiverse of Madness that was spoiled was seeing Haley Atwell at the red carpet.
And you're like, well, why is she there?
Why? Yeah, like why would she be there? Like, well, she's in it somehow as Captain America, and yeah, so that was spoiled. I was still thrilled like to see her on the screen, but it would have been like I probably would have been in tears like had I not known. I just love Haley Atwell so much. So the next episode that we have or next show is Hawkeye.
Yes.
That came out for Christmas time. It was set in
It was around this time last year.
Yeah, yep. So yeah, so we had like a Christmas.
Dude, I really enjoy this.
I did too. It was really nice. Because obviously we don't have like a Hawkeye like standalone film. So you do get more of his like kind of backstory like in some of the movies. As you go, what movie is it that they go to his house?
Age of Ultron.
Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Is where you really kind of get to see more into like Clint's like.
You get to see his family, and you get to see Laura and his children are in this, and you do get to see them a little bit more in Endgame and Infinity War. I should say Endgame. Right at the beginning of Endgame there.
Because you find out that his family gets dusted.
Yep.
So then he takes up this mantle, I guess, I don't know, of Ronin.
Yep.
What would you call him?
I would say he's like a vigilante.
Yeah. Yeah. So he goes around.
And that's kind of the nice thing about Hawkeye. Like you kind of mentioned, like you don't get a whole lot of backstory to him, or he doesn't have his own, his own film to kind of flesh everything out. but like this tied in everything. This tied in events from the Avengers. This tied in events from Age of Ultron. This tied in new characters. This tied in Daredevil. This tied in so much to the greater MCU. And you get information about or this ties into Black Widow, and it ties into Endgame and Infinity War really, really well. And what happened during the blip. Like there's so much of the MCU, like this universe, that gets really like kind of a little bit more detailed because of Hawkeye.
Yeah. And I guess I really wasn't expecting that. I guess I didn't really know what to expect with this one. Just because, we don't really know too much about Hawkeye, like, and we don't really get too much into, like, you don't really know, like, his, like, origin story or anything like that, but, just more of, like, his past and, what he was kind of up to, and then, like, I guess, like, how that kind of is affecting him now, because I guess, like, one aspect of him that you see is, he wears hearing aids now.
Yep.
So, tying that in, and then, we do get, our first, well, no, not our first, because I think Eternals had the first deaf character.
Yeah.
But we do get another one with Echo.
Yeah, Maya is a really complicated character.
Yeah.
I think is a good way to say it. And on top of like her story and her struggles, she is deaf, so she's having to navigate this superhero world that is dealing with a lot of like, she's like more on like the criminal underground side of this universe.
Right.
But again,
kind of questioning
alliances, questioning, who she can trust in this entire world, but she's doing it all deaf.
Yeah. Which I love that the MCU is just branching out and bringing in like more diverse characters, bringing in more of that, I don't know, just that representation. Like, and I'm all here for that. So that just,
yeah, so this to kind of go back and start from the beginning. So Hawkeye takes place around Christmas time.
Yep.
He's taking his kids out on his whole family out to New York on a trip for the holidays. They're going to see Rogers the musical.
Like legit, like they got like I don't remember who it is, but they got like legit like Broadway musical.
Oh yeah,
like,
Mark Shaman was
to write this like.
Yep, the writers behind the music of Hairspray.
Yeah.
Amongst others, I just know them most from Hairspray. Came in to write this piece for this Broadway show that takes place in the MCU about these characters who save the city of New York. So I thought that was really, really fun. You get the introduction of Kate Bishop into the series, which is I don't want to say like she's just like the female version of Hawkeye, but she's just a different iteration. I wouldn't say she's definitely not a variant by any means, but
no, she's not.
She's just a character who is inspired by Clint. It's
like, okay, so you know how Taylor Swift just dropped her Midnights album?
Of course.
So Kate Bishop is like the companion song to to Clint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That makes sense. What are we talking about now? Now we're talking about Taylor Swift. Yeah. So no, that's actually a pretty good analogy. Yeah. But yeah, so it's nice to see Kate Bishop in the series, which it kind of seems like now you have, by this point in the MCU, you're kind of seeing like, okay, well, we got an introduction in WandaVision of Wanda's kids who are heroes in the comics. You have White Vision, who's kind of like this new version of Vision. You have a new Captain America now. You're starting to get some new villains in here.
Yeah.
By this point, we've also seen Multiverse of Madness. So now we are seeing some new characters with America Chavez, which we'll get into next week, who's kind of like a new-ish version.
Wait, didn't Multiverse of Madness come out 2022?
Didn't it?
Yeah.
We hadn't
seen it yet.
Okay, but I guess at this point, anyway, we're starting to get like some characters that are kind of remind us of these, established MCU characters. Kate Bishop is just like that as well. So we're starting to see this formation of, I wouldn't say like a young Avengers, but I'm kind of saying we're going to see this formation of a young Avenger.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I keep saying, like, because people are just like, I know there's just been a lot of complaints with how slow Phase 4 is, or like they don't get where it's going. They don't understand like what Marvel's doing, and I'm like, they're introducing new characters. Like, you guys are gonna complain if they just
That's
bring
all
in.
what Phase 1 was about. Just all
Yeah,
introducing new
exactly.
characters.
So this is what they're doing. Like, they're introducing new characters. They're giving them like established stories. They're trying to like flesh them out, give them backstory, like let us get to know them. Because like I said, like if they just bring them in a movie, you're just gonna be like, then you're gonna be complaining
about
like,
that.
yeah, like, well, why did they just bring in this character? We don't know anything about them. You should have made a TV show or something. Like, I don't know, with you Marvel fans, it's like you can't win either way. But anyways, yeah, we get Kate Bishop, we get Lucky the dog.
Yeah.
So cute. Love dogs.
And I think two of the biggest things in this series that really stood out for me was, well, I guess one, it's set in Christmas time, which we love so much. Christmas. So that was really nice to see that. But kind of how this ties in is that we do get some introductions to characters that we've seen recently, or it's been a long time since we've seen them. One of the fights towards the end of the series is a fight against this masked unknown vigilante on the roof.
Yep.
Takes the mask off, and it's Yelena.
Yelena
is back.
Yeah, I was super happy to see her. But then wasn't so happy. Well, I guess we kind of knew she was after Clint. We knew that she was,
she's kind of trying to seek revenge because she believes that Clint is the reason that Natasha died. Right.
Yeah, and Clint tries to tell her that, she sacrificed herself. Like, he was ready to do it himself, like fall over, the cliff and everything. But Natasha being Natasha, like, sacrificing herself for her family. And
so it was nice to see that, that it was almost kind of a bonding moment between the two. Like, Yelena kind of was like, I don't believe you, but then like the more Clint talked, she was like, okay, this sounds like my sister.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just, and it's so interesting because, like, obviously, like, Yelena is Natasha's sister, but then I feel like, Clint and Natasha had such a brother-sister relationship. It's like, he lost a sister too. Like, super, super sad, but, it was something that they can kind of connect and bond over. And again, it kind of like, Yelena was in on a mission. Like, she knew what she wanted to do, but then she's just kind of questioning, like, is this what I really want to do? Is this, what I need to do? And kind of.
And this seemed to be all kind of sparked by Val at the end of the Black Widow film. So, like, this is another good way to kind of tie in how these films are also integrating and being incorporated into the movies, and vice versa. And the other character that we got a fun little reveal towards the end of the series was Kingpin.
Kingpin from Daredevil.
Yes.
Like the Netflix.
The Netflix, the one that wasn't supposed to be canon,
but is now.
Well, and it's to be seen that whether or not it's a variant version or not. But like, the Daredevil series that was on Netflix was very loosely connected to the first Avengers movie. They had mentioned the Battle of New York several times there, so it kind of seemed like it should have been connected, but there was definitely, like, these are two separate entities. But now you get the same characters coming back from that Netflix series into here, so it kind of makes it seem like everything is actually all together.
It's there.
So, I mean, if we're getting Kingpin, and we'll get into, we got Daredevil back. That it's not to say that we can't see Luke Cage or Jessica Jones come up here in a future project.
Or everyone's favorite, Iron Fist.
Iron Fist.
I don't know why everyone just hates on that show.
I don't. If we might not get Iron Fist back, but we'll get the other ones. So yeah, it was really fun seeing Kingpin and how he is this, like, adoptive father of Maya, who is one of the main antagonists of the show, and just kind of seeing how everything kind of fits together. Like, I feel like this is the one show that really seemed like, yeah, we're really connecting
Yes,
everything
there was
together.
a lot of tie-ins with this show, and
Like,
which is really nice. But yeah, I like the storyline. I don't know. Do you think it was hard to follow, easy to follow?
I think it was super easy to follow. I feel like there was enough diversion with Kate's mom's boyfriend,
Yeah.
Shifrain, I think his last name was. Like, kind of seeing, like, you know, there was enough of a distraction to think like he might have been it, to kind of keep you off the scent of his mom being like not a great person and working with Kingpin. The Trusta Bros were there to add the comedy there. And then the nice little teaser at the end where you realize that Laura, Clint's wife, she was part of the Avengers, or, you know, a superhero at one point. It seemed like she was an Avenger at one point because of her watch.
Yep.
She does have she's a member of S.H.I.E.L.D. at least.
Yeah.
And kind of confirming that she is, I think, Mockingbird.
Okay.
So that was really cool because we kind of got a little off version of that with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when that was out. But no, like, we kind of got confirmation, like, yeah, like this is superheroing, or S.H.I.E.L.D. has been a part of Clint and Laura's family for a long time, and just everything just really seemed to work for this TV show for me. Yeah. I really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I love Yelena so much, and I love the part when she like is just in Kate's apartment.
With the mac and cheese sriracha.
Yeah. She's just so chill about it. Like, I love that scene. Yeah,
like, Florence Pugh is just the best. Her accent is amazing. Yeah. Like, I'm so excited to see her in Thunderbolts in the next phase here.
Yep.
And that, again, that's another character where we have Black Widow, but now we kind of have like a different version of Black Widow. Yep. So like, we're getting more and more of like these established characters getting similar counterparts, or these companion songs.
These companion songs.
And to be honest, like, nothing really missed for me on Hawkeye. I honestly, I don't really have. I guess
I was just gonna say I don't have any complaints. I thoroughly enjoyed this show. Yeah,
and like, in all, like we said, it's set around Christmas time, so it's like a good show to watch around Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah, we were just talking, like, do we have to add this in our Christmas, like, show, like, movie and show, like, lineup for the season? Maybe. We'll see.
So moving on from Hawkeye, we kind of go in a completely different direction.
Yeah, for sure.
And we get Moon Knight nights. Yes, Wednesday nights for Moon Knight nights in our house here. God, I loved this show too.
I did too. I was really surprised because, again, like, I don't read the comics, so I don't know much about these characters other than like what I kind of get from you, or just, you know, what I'm kind of hearing or reading online. I don't really like seek out a lot of information. I really like to stay spoiler free. I don't even trailers. Like, I will watch one trailer maybe, and
if I can get you to watch two, that's a lot.
So I didn't know much about Moon Knight. I didn't, the only thing I kind of knew was about like the dual personality. I did know about that. But other than that, I really didn't know much. And this show really surprised me by how much I was liking it and like invested into like finding out what happened. Like, Steven with a V is just like, probably one of my favorite characters.
He's like one of those like cinnamon roll characters.
Yes, I was just gonna say he's like a precious character. You need to like save him at all costs.
And then you get Mark, who's just kind of like this badass counterpart to him, where he's just like, I don't take any names, just get the job done. It doesn't matter how you get it done. And just seeing how these two like have this internal fight, and then how they like presented it on the screen.
I thought they did a really good job. Like, I think had you not known prior that he had and there, I wrote down the name of it because it's dissociative identity disorder is what he has, which I like that they brought that in, like bringing in like mental health and like awareness like with all of that. But yeah, I feel like the way that they presented it on screen, they just did a really good job with it, and I thought it was really easy to follow for the most part. Like, I don't think I remember getting like confused too much like when watching it.
No, like this for something that you have all these like multiple kind of personalities
Yeah.
of a character kind of fighting internally, and then how they present, like it seems very easy to figure out, like, you know, who's kind of in charge, who's you know, who has the hand on the driver, the steering wheel right now.
Yeah.
The only kind of parts that were a little bit confusing were the parts where he's back in the like almost like the psych ward, or like the institute or the hospital.
Yeah.
And then you can't really tell, like, okay, like, is this Mark's brain? Is this Steven's brain?
Right.
Is it
And I couldn't tell if this was actually happening or if he was dreaming it.
And
like,
that is very much how
Yeah.
the comics
Yeah.
are. Like, there you could be reading the comics and you have no idea who is kind of driving the story. You don't really know, like, you know, you have a sense of what's going on, but you don't really know how it's going on. That is very true. That is very intentional.
That's intentional, though. That's not meant to, like, I don't know, screw up people on purpose or like bad writing or something like that.
Yeah, a lot of what this series was a very intentionally vague or misleading writing, because that is exactly how the comics are for this character. And I you know, we'll get into it when we get into She-Hulk and even Miss Marvel, but like, you can definitely tell that a lot of these series were written to represent the comics more, and I feel in a way that we've ever seen before. Like,
Yeah.
Hawkeye, you know, in the series that this TV show is based off of, like, it hits all those same points. Like, he's just kind of like done with it. He's exhausted. He's deaf. Like, he's just trying to like get back to a family role.
Yeah.
Like, with Moon Knight, you have like this disorder where it's just kind of like who's controlling who.
Right.
You know, Miss Marvel is very much like that young teen angsty, you know, just kind of Gen Z type of character.
Yeah.
And then She-Hulk with all her fourth wall breaking, like, that's very true to the comic. And I feel like these sets of TV shows are so much like a reflection of what you're reading in the comics.
Yeah, I love that. I love the directions that they're going with like these shows, and like how much time and thought and effort that they're putting into each show to really mold and make it authentic to what the comics, I guess, were intending,
and to integrate that authenticity into the MCU.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed Moon Knight. Like I said, more than I thought I would. Yeah, like I just the storyline. I don't know, like, it was different. Like, I guess just because of like the setting, like being, you know, in Egypt, and like, you know, there's obviously a lot of like Egyptian like history and artifacts and a lot of names that I had never heard before. But I thought they did a really good job, like, I guess, explaining things, or like making sure like you kind of like understood like what was happening. Also, like, Steven with a V working in like the museum, and like his knowledge of like Egyptian history and artifacts and stuff is just amazing. But yeah, and then I really liked how they explored Mark's past and how Steven with a V came to be, and like how he like, or why he has at the time like these dual personalities, because we do get a peek at the end with his third personality,
Jake Lockley.
Jake. So yeah, I don't know, I thought it was really fun, but serious. I don't know, it's just really good. Also, I really like the line later skaters, which we kind of say
all the time.
Yeah.
I guess in my notes, the only thing, like the ones I wanted to kind of bring up here is I really like the suit ups and the different versions of the Moon Knight suits.
I was gonna ask you. I know there was complaints about there wasn't enough Moon Knight suits or suit up.
I think.
Do you think that was lacking?
I do.
Yeah.
I wish we would have seen more Mark in the Moon Knight costume.
Sure.
We got it very, very you know, bits and pieces, but he almost seemed like when he was on screen as Moon Knight, it was like Batman, I am vengeance. Like, I mean, a lot of people kind of compare Moon Knight and Batman because they are very similar in nature.
Right.
But like, just like it almost like it reminded me of like the Christian Bale Batman movies, like
yeah.
just how like menacing and powerful like he can be, and then just seeing like Mark in that like that mummified white Spectre suit, or even seeing Steven with like his his like button up 3-piece suit,
Yeah.
like like these suit ups were awesome, and again you got to see them in Avengers Campus, so I think they did a phenomenal job there. Layla's final transformation into the Scarlet Scarab at the end,
that was really cool.
like I feel like she did a much better job with like those wings in that golden suit than like Wonder Woman did. I just and then just in general, like I feel like the characters, you really got to know them very, very well, even though like you're kind of dealing with one person that has two different characters.
Yeah.
Layla was really awesome. I loved Khonshu.
Yeah.
And Arthur was just so like,
gosh, like he was so good.
Yeah.
Like really good.
Ethan Hawke did a phenomenal job here on that. I don't know if he's actually shot or not, or he's killed at the end. We kind of thought that Kingpin was, dead at the end of
and I don't
end of Hawkeye, and he's definitely not dead at the end of Hawkeye. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it will be interesting. Oh, and one other thing, I know she has a name, but the hippo god, towards the end.
Oh, she's so funny.
I thought that was so funny. Like this show was just like a roller coaster of, I don't know, like just fun. I think, like, I thought it was fun,
and it's fun to kind of see like different. First, it was fun. Then, but it's fun to see like these different versions of like godlike entities because you get like a lot of like the Norse mythology with like Thor and Odin and Loki and all them, and then you see a little bit of a different type of gods with the Moon Knight series. And I know I can't really like fault the series at all. I think my biggest concern is biggest complaint is just it was too short.
Yeah, it was short. And it did seem to like at the beginning maybe a little bit slower, and then I know there was the complaint about the Moon Knight like costume outfit was lacking, which I do agree, because it is Moon Knight and you don't really like see that like as much as you think you would.
And I don't know if it's just because like the story didn't lend it to itself, or if it was just it was difficult to create this costume. But I would have liked to have seen more suited Moon Knight up, but I don't think this is the last time we're seeing him. I do think that we're getting another season of Moon Knight. I do foresee us getting some Moon Knight love, maybe in like a Blade film, or this isn't the last time he's showing up.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't cast Oscar Isaac. And then only use him for 6 episodes. All right, and then moving on from Moon Knight, the next series was Miss Marvel.
Miss Marvel,
and we've gone into detail on this in the past.
It's the only show that we've like dedicated like a whole. Well, it's our extra magic minute.
We have 2 extra magic minutes for it. So if you haven't seen those, definitely go back and take a look at those. I don't really think that we need to extrapolate too much onto those episodes because we have but we love Miss Marvel.
I love Miss Marvel so much. It's a show made by fans for fans. Like it just, I don't know. I love it. I can't like
like I have so much fun reading those comics, and like that's exactly how I felt watching this show.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I felt like you were watching the comics in real life. I love her humor and just her unique mind and how she kind of sees this world of Avengers not as like these gods, but like as a fangirl. It's so cool to see like one of my favorite characters and one of our favorite characters finally come into life on the screen, and then we will get to see her in future projects.
The Marvels. I'm so excited. I know there's a lot of hate on like Captain Marvel and on the show too. Like I saw not a lot of positive things said about it, and that it really just hurts my heart because I feel like it was just so good. Like I feel like it was written really well. It was accurate to the comics and to Kamala's character
in her culture, like
in
learning
her
about the
culture.
partition. Like
Yeah.
this is something that we never got to experience or learn growing up
Yeah.
as, you know, as children in school. So like finally getting to hear about like the partition and how like it affected all these like generations of families. Like I wouldn't have known that
Yeah.
had
Without
I not, you know, read the comics and saw this this
right.
series.
Yeah. So yeah, so it is amazing. I thought it was really well written. But yeah, I guess, you know, if you're not, you know, and I don't think you have to be like a girl or like a fangirl to like love this show or to understand or relate.
Look at me.
Because that was like a lot of things I was hearing was like, oh, I can't relate to the show. It's just so teeny boppy and all of that stuff. And I'm just like, there's so much more to this show and to these characters and what they're trying to tell you if you just like open up to it.
Right.
So yeah, like it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, so we
really enjoyed this show.
Yeah, so we highly suggest you going back and listening or watching our 2 Extra Magic Minutes episodes devoted to Miss Marvel. Our first one is devoted just for the premiere of the episode, and then our second one is devoted to the entire series. So we have like a full like
more in depth,
a full episode just on the Miss Marvel. So we absolutely love it. It's a spoiler, it's going to rank very high in our list when we get to that at the end of today's episode. But we definitely recommend going out and checking those. All right, so we're going to go to our final show of Phase 4. I got some big energy going on over here, and this is She-Hulk.
She-Hulk.
I'm not going to go into too much detail because I want you to have your stage here. I know you're so excited to talk about She-Hulk. We would probably just be going over the same information and the same love that we have for this She-Hulk show. But what do you got for notes? What do you love about She-Hulk Attorney at Law?
So I know I had brought up Taylor Swift earlier.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm just gonna hit it off with Taylor Swift again. If I had to pick a Taylor Swift song to kind of represent She-Hulk,
okay,
I would pick The Man.
Yeah.
For sure. For so many reasons. Like, first of all, this show, amazing. I loved it so much. I know a lot of people like didn't understand it. They don't like it. They're just like, well, they're just making a girl Hulk or whatever.
Yep.
So I feel like The Man from Taylor Swift, if you know the song, like I feel like if this was like a regular like Hulk show or like another Hulk movie, it probably wouldn't have gotten as much like hate as it did if it was a guy.
And the thing is, like, it's the difference between like the critical response and the fan response.
Yes, that
because
is true.
The fanboys that got all pissy about this, they're the ones that are down voting and like review bombing this show. If you look at the actual critic score, it got a pretty good
high.
Pretty
the last time I
score.
checked, it was at an 85%, and and I think the audience score was like low 30s.
Yeah.
For this show, which I think
it's all those guys at Intelligentsia.
I know, that's what I'm just like, so that's just like, first of all, like my thought was just like, and then I was like, oh, I should find a Taylor Swift song for every show, but I couldn't. I just didn't really take the time, but like The Man just like popped into my head for She-Hulk. I'm like, yes, this like represents it so much. But like I like the writing style of this show was just so fun. Like I had so much fun watching this show. I know like people were wanting like a plot or I don't know, like a more streamed like plot line or storyline or something that was gonna like carry over like to every episode. Like what were they trying to like achieve like throughout like the show? And it just kind of seemed like, there was something big that would come up and then it would end or whatever. But I feel like it carried like throughout the whole show. Like there were aspects from every episode that were important to wrap up at the end.
Yeah.
So I know there were like a lot of complaints about that, but I don't know. I really enjoyed it. Like I enjoyed the style of it. I I loved the twerking at with Megan Thee Stallion. I know that just like blew up the internet, and like, why would they do that? And well, first of all, it was an end credit scene,
Yeah.
and but it just goes to show like how much fun that they were like having with this show, and like the way it was written. They're just like, we're just gonna go all out with it, and it really came across on screen. I rewatched it again, and I think it's even better like the second
And we
time.
literally just watched the finale again for like the third time last night.
Yeah, I don't know. As a Hulk fan, like I'm not like huge like Hulk fan, so I wasn't really expecting much from this show, to be honest. But it really took me by surprise, and I just thoroughly enjoyed watching it so much.
Yeah, and we've got like, I guess I'll kind of go over some of the notes that I have. Like you kind of piggyback on what you said. Like it was a wild, crazy show.
Yeah.
Like it didn't take itself too seriously. Like Jen throughout the show, like would always say this is what you want. Like this is what you want.
Yeah.
Like she very much was in this space where she kind of knew like, hey, this isn't superhero. I'm a lawyer. I'm an attorney.
Right.
Like
she didn't want the superhero gig.
She didn't want this. And you know, Tatiana Maslany was just, I think, perfect as Jen. We got some really fun side characters or just kind of side stories with Titania and Nikki. Was every scene that she was in, she stole. Pug was really fun to see.
I thought he was a really fun character. I think just seeing him a little bit more, but I liked in the finale, like he had his time, and I thought he did a really good job.
But I feel like the best character that came out from this series was Madison
with the Y, but it's not where you think.
Her and Wongers, like we need more. Like I want a Disney Plus show.
Just do a show
just
with
Madison and Wongers. Like I want them to like be reviewing Disney Plus shows. Like it's just just the two of them at Carmitage watching Disney Plus, reviewing like the Santa Clauses or reviewing like the Halloween Town or something. It's just them. Like I think that would be fantastic. But again, we got to see Wong come in.
Yep.
He tied in what Abomination was doing in Shang-Chi. Still kind of seems like he might be doing some Abomination things afterwards. But it was nice to see Wong in here. We got a little bit more of bigger MCU building with some more or realizing like there are other minor superheroes out there like the Porcupine guy or the Matador. But speaking of bigger superheroes in this universe, we got what we as Marvel fans have been begging for years. We got Daredevil back.
Daredevil. Now, do you like that they showed him in the trailer? Do you like that you knew ahead of time that he was coming?
I knew before the trailer that he was coming in.
Okay. Well, did you like that? Do you think it like helped the show, hurt the show?
I think it hurt the show.
Yeah.
Reason being is that and the person that comes to mind is Soups on TikTok. I do not care for him. I know that there are a lot of people that follow him, but I personally do not, because it just seems like he is kind of a fair weather fan of the MCU. Like he only likes it if it's something that he likes. If it's not something, he thinks it's the worst thing ever. And but I know that he was very excited to see Daredevil. He knew before even the trailer came out, just like I did, that Daredevil was going to be in this series. So then he was only watching the series because he was waiting for Daredevil.
Right.
Oh, I found some information. I heard a rumor that Daredevil's going to be out in this next episode. Like Daredevil's going to be in here for 6 episodes. So if we're on episode whatever, like he's got to be in the next one. Like, just shut up. Like, enjoy Jen's story.
Yep.
And if Daredevil happens to come into it, perfect. But this is Jen's story. This isn't even like Hulk story. This isn't even like She-Hulk story. This is Jen's story.
Yeah.
So like the fact that we got anything out of this, including Abomination back, including Hulk, and then getting Daredevil in here, like just be happy that you got a series that incorporated all of that.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say that too. Like, I really wish they would have kept Daredevil as secretive as they could, because I feel like you just had, because I feel like the Marvel fanboys, like, or whatever, like the people that are like hating on this show because like it's too feminine for them, I guess. They probably would have dropped off after the first episode. Maybe they would have stuck around for the second one, but then they would have dropped off. And I feel like this show wouldn't have gotten like so much hate.
Mm-hmm.
And then those people that stuck around for Daredevil and for that season finale, like, I think you like, that was just like, not that you needed a reward, but like you would have like had the payoff of like, you know, watching such an incredible like series, and then you get Daredevil like added into it.
Because if you're only watching the show for a character who's not even the main,
he's not even the main character.
Like, that says so much about the people that they were trying to make fun of in this show.
Exactly.
Like, if you as a Marvel fanboy were only watching She-Hulk, a female-centric story about a female attorney who became a superhero, and all you cared about was seeing Daredevil.
Yeah.
Like, you deserve to get picked on. You're the reason why they were making fun of, like, essentially like Reddit and 4chan and all these like these websites. That's what intelligentsia is. You are intelligentsia.
Exactly.
Like, just realize that you're the joke. Like, you're the one being made fun of here. Like, yeah, you might have got Daredevil in like the last like 2 or 3 episodes, but like,
you didn't deserve it.
You didn't deserve it.
You did not deserve to watch Daredevil. You didn't deserve that like amazing finale. Like, you didn't deserve any of that. And like, that really makes me angry that those fanboys like still got to like watch and experience that. And
but speaking of that amazing finale though,
oh my gosh,
it was so meta. It was so, I want to say it was probably the most well-written finale, I think, of any of the MCU shows.
I was just going to say, like, it's probably up there with one of my favorites. And yeah, it was so well written, so well played. The only thing is that when we watched it the first time, we always watch with subtitles on.
Yes, and when the subtitles did ruin it.
Yeah, the subtitles did ruin it. Because they did fix it, because when we went and watched it, the Kevin, it was
So I guess
at first,
let's go back and lead up to it. So everything's kind of going haywire. Jen's just like, this is my show. Like, what is going on here? Like, this doesn't make any sense. And then like it goes super meta. It goes super fourth wall. And it kind of backs out to the Disney Plus Marvel load screen or the title screen.
Yeah, I was like, what's going on? I'm like, what button did you press? Like,
and then Jen's just like, oh no, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to go myself. I will fix my own story because it is my story. I'm taking charge of this TV show and I'm going to fix it because this is how it should be.
Yeah.
Goes and finds the writer's room of Marvel who's writing this episode as they speak, and then she asks for Kevin, Kevin Feige, because she wants to talk to him directly about like how much off the rails this episode has gone.
Yeah, and when they're talking, so like when she's talking about Kevin, it's just like spelled Kevin regularly, but when the writers are talking about Kevin, it's like an acronym. So it's capitalized, period, capitalized, Kevin. So then they're not talking about a person, but like a thing or something else. Mm-hmm. Like, so it's not going to be Kevin Feige. So we didn't know exactly what it was, but we knew it wasn't. Like,
we knew that we weren't seeing Kevin Feige show up on TV.
But that's what they were trying to allude to. And had they fixed the subtitles, like, I definitely would have been like, oh my gosh, we're getting Kevin Feige on screen. But it's not. It's the AI robot. And he is like, what do they say? Like the most advanced, sophisticated
and
writing
writing
shows.
And then he puts out stuff that people generally is loved or something like that.
Most of it's well received.
So it was just so fun for like not only like them to kind of like make a joke about like the series in general, but like to make a joke of the MCU in general, and just kind of step back and be like, hey, like, we realize not everyone likes this, but like, you got to understand, like, this is what we do here. Like, we're, this is this is Marvel, like, or like when she had to sign the NDA.
Oh yeah.
And then he's like, he pushes the security button, and she's like, "What the hell? Like, why did you make me sign this if you're just going to do that?" She's like, "Well, everyone needs to. Everyone needs to sign it. You're in Marvel
because you know how secretive they are, but like I said, not so secretive lately.
Yeah, they've been letting a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they've been really relaxed, I feel.
Yeah, and it's not even like they're letting it like slip through the cracks. Like they're purposely putting.
Oh yeah, like Marvel themselves are putting.
So for them to like not let like this big of a kind of season finale end, or kind of slip out. But we did get one little snippet at the very end of the episode where we find out that Hulk has a son, Scar. Oh
yeah, what's up with his hair? He looks so weird. Like it almost looked like in the both times that I watched it, it almost looks like he has like a little braid going like on top of his head, like his hair's like slicked back, and then he has like a braid or something.
Yeah, there's a couple different versions of his hairstyle in the comics. Like usually, like he's got like kind of like this like really wavy kind of hair, but then there are some where he's like partly bald or partly, I shouldn't say bald, but shaved. But yeah, we realized that from episode 1, because we saw that Sakarian ship come and like kind of shoot down the SUV that they're driving in and take kind of, Hulk is away for, most of the series. He's purposely AWOL. You realize like, oh, he's back in Sakaar because you find out he had a son there. So that'll be kind of fun. Again, another character who's a companion song of the character. We've got 2 of them with She-Hulk and
his son. Yeah.
I don't know if it's like the Hulkling or if it's actually Sakaar or actually Scar, but we'll see what happens in the future on that. But in general, we really enjoyed She-Hulk. I feel like much more than anybody else did.
Yeah, like I feel like we were the only ones that were really liking it. And I guess like, it wasn't like I said, like it didn't really seem like there was like a main, like when you thought like what the main like plot of the show was going to be, there was like, oh no, we're going to finish that, because like, I don't know, like when like Titania was suing Jen about the name She-Hulk, I'm like, oh, this will probably take a few episodes, but it was wrapped up in one episode.
Speaking of which, we got in one of those, we got confirmation that the Sokovia Accords was repealed.
Yeah.
So like just drop that kind of in there. So there are like these little bits and pieces that still kind of connected to the main MCU storyline, or it kind of give us more information, because like that is one of those kind of those things that if you're seeing all these superheroes in public, like shouldn't they be dealing with with the Sokovia Accords? Shouldn't they be dealing with the U.S. government? And then they just be like, oh yeah, those things that thing doesn't exist anymore.
So Cap won.
So yeah, Cap won. We told you, Tony.
Yeah, but yeah, overall, I thoroughly enjoyed the show. Having Wong in there, like I don't know, he's so fun, and just I don't know, just the characters. Like I like Nikki and Pug. I liked Daredevil showing up, like his
new suits.
Yeah, his new suit. He did get a hallway scene, like that's pretty on brand for him.
Yeah. And then Jen just has to come in and smash down the ceiling and kind of ruin it. And I think like as soon as I saw them, like, oh, there's people that are gonna be mad about that, but I think this is hilarious.
So yeah, I love that they knew what they were doing when they were writing the show, because they knew a couple years ago when they were writing it, people like fanboys were going to be upset about like how it was written and like what they were portraying, and like just like the whole feminine side of this story. Like there was going to be a lot of like, I guess, backlash, or like people weren't going to like it, but they certainly were going to poke fun at those people, and I'm here for it. So
well, I think we've come to kind of the end of the episode where I think now we need to go ahead and rank all of these.
Okay.
This took me a little bit of time to do, because I was, and even on like the ranking that I currently have listed down right now, I think I'm going to change on one of them, because like it was difficult to.
Yeah, so my basis of ranking them is just how much I enjoyed watching the shows.
Okay.
For the most part, it's just like how much I really liked it. What was probably like the biggest factor, I guess.
Sure.
So I guess I'm not one to like base what I like off of like how well received things are. Like, you know, there's a lot of things that I really, really enjoy that a lot of people like just don't like or don't get. But yeah, so I don't know if that's what you did or.
I kind of just took the whole series in general, and I feel like my list is like I have like 5 of them that are like really like right up on top there. It's like 1A, 1B, 1C,
Sure.
and then it's like the final like 2 or 3 at the bottom. So
okay,
we're gonna start at 8 because there was 8 shows.
Yeah.
And then work our way up to the top.
Yeah.
So what was your number 8 show?
My number 8 show is What If.
Mine too.
So I don't think that's too shocking. Just with
I
what
was
it's like.
and I was very excited for it. It's just in the end of the day, like as much as I do like certain episodes, not all of them were winners, and it in the grand scheme of things didn't really seem to like play into the MCU like grander scale.
Yeah.
Number 7?
Loki.
Loki for me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love Tom Hiddleston as Loki, but it just seemed like it was too short. It just seemed it was very chaotic. And I feel like the storyline just wasn't really like there for me.
Yeah, it's the time travel thing. I mean, not that it's like super confusing. It's just not my favorite thing. It's not like my favorite like storytelling aspect, like whenever it's brought in. And I don't, like Loki as a character is fine. Just not one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So.
All right, episode or series number 6.
I see now. I'm kind of wanting to change things, but okay. I'm just gonna go with my original list.
Okay.
Number 6, I have Moon Knight.
I have Moon Knight as well.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And this is solely for the fact that I wanted more. I wanted more Moon Knight himself. I wanted more of seeing the outfit. I just wanted more of these characters because I just felt like my biggest complaint is that the series just seemed too short. Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, not that it was bad. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it more than Loki, hence why it's rated higher. So
this is where I was like, all like these next couple ones right here, they're gonna be kind of tight, and then there's my number 1 here. So
okay.
All right, number 5. This might shock you. I have Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Oh.
And this was always like one of my top ones for like the first part of Phase 4. Like I was always like it was like number 2 or number 1 kind of like interchangeably there.
Okay.
But I feel like it's just me being overly critical of a series that I expected a lot out of.
Okay.
What's your number 5?
Number 5, I have Hawkeye.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And this is where I'm like, I probably could switch some, but yeah, so this is my original list. I have Hawkeye. I really enjoyed it. But then I'm just like, did I enjoy it more than WandaVision? And that's where I'm just, I don't know.
Okay.
So right now, I have Hawkeye.
Okay.
As number 5.
Number 5. Okay. So who do you have as number 4 then?
WandaVision.
Okay, that's what I kind of figured when you said that.
Because I'm like, do I switch them? Maybe. Because I don't know. Like, I might switch them. I might. I don't know. And any given day, I guess I could. Those could be switched for me.
Sure.
So.
That's fine.
What do you have as your number 4?
She-Hulk, Attorney at Law.
Oh.
Yeah, that was so between Falcon and the Winter Soldier and She-Hulk, they were kind of interchangeable. I liked Cap or Falcon and the Winter Soldier and obviously Cap because of the story with characters I love, but it just me being critical just felt a little short on some aspects of it.
Sure.
Where She-Hulk, I just thoroughly enjoyed the entire series.
Okay.
Number 3. What do you got?
3 for me is Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
This is so weird that we have these because I would have thought that mine would have been higher, but I guess maybe
for me it still rates high.
And maybe it's just me being overly critical because I think it probably like She-Hulk and Falcon could have been like side swapped.
Okay.
Number 3 for me is Hawkeye.
Okay.
I really enjoyed Hawkeye a lot more than I thought I was going to.
See, and that's where I'm like, I feel like I almost need to switch Hawkeye and WandaVision because between the two, I think I would almost watch Hawkeye over WandaVision. So I think I would do.
I think I would download both of them and watch them both.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, that was my number 3 was Hawkeye. Number 2 I have is Miss Marvel.
Okay.
What is your number 2?
Number 2 is She-Hulk.
She-Hulk?
Yeah. Yeah, I loved She-Hulk. Like, and going, like, if you would have, like, asked me, like, oh, where do you think this one's gonna fall, like, before you watch it? And I'd be like, it's probably gonna be lower on my list.
I love the same thing.
It blew me away. I feel like they knocked it out of the park, and I feel like if you identify as a female, like, in any way, like, you will, like, know and pick up and have experienced, like, a lot of, like, what they're putting out into the show. Like, you know, in the beginning, like, when Jen's like, you know, well, I've had to control my anger for years, and, like, my feelings and thoughts and stuff, like, as a woman, like, you kind of have to, like, dial some of that stuff down, or maybe not voice your opinion as much, or, like, your anger as much. So yeah, so there's just, like, a lot of aspects like that. Or, like, right at the end, when the reporter's, like, asking Jen, like, what are you wearing, or who are you wearing, like, on the red carpet, like, every female gets asked, like, who are you wearing tonight, because, like, that freaking matters. Like, you know, I don't get it. So anyways, there's just a lot in this show that I really, like, connected with and loved. And yeah, so it's number 2 for me.
Miss Marvel was it was everything that I wanted to see out of that show and more. Like, even, like, the small additions of, like, her kind of, like, the YouTube videos that she makes.
Yep.
You know, she does a lot of, like, fanfic and comic writing in, like, the comics themselves.
Mhm.
Or, like, the inclusion of Sloth Baby.
I was just gonna say Sloth Baby, and a lot of people don't know that comes from the comics.
Yes, that's 100% from the comics. Or even something like
or Bruno too. Somebody didn't know that Bruno was actually in the comics.
Yeah, and, like, a lot of the powers might have changed a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's okay with me, because the story is still there, and, like, her essence is still there.
Well, and that's the thing, is, like, I don't think it really doesn't is once she has the powers, she has them. Like, it's the story that comes after, and, like, what is said and done after she gets those powers that matter.
Yeah, and then plus, my last 2 notes, Avengers Con was awesome. I want to go to that. And then, too, just the way that her dad at the end, you know, explains that her name means, you know, Marvel or Wonder, and, like, you are my little, you know, Miss Marvel, and that's how she gets the name. And I'm just like, oh, it's so perfect. Like, we need more of those type of dads. So then that leads us down to our number 1 pick.
Number 1.
And that means, by process of elimination, yours is
Miss
Marvel.
And
perfect. And then mine's WandaVision.
Yeah.
I think it's just because it's the first one. Like, I just got so, like, excited and attached for it. And when we go back and we were kind of recapping and watching recaps of everything that happened in these series, like, it was like, yeah, WandaVision was so good.
It was good. It's just, well, and again, like, it just, I feel like Multiverse of Madness, like, ruined WandaVision.
And I can see that for you.
Yeah. So, and yeah, and it just, like, of all these shows, I feel like Miss Marvel and She-Hulk, I'm so surprised that She-Hulk, like, is ranking as high as it does with me. But those are, like, my 2 favorites. Like, I just love them.
These are our final results.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Oh, gosh.
I can tell you, when I was writing this list, I did not think that it was going to end up this way. But this is indicative of how I really feel about these shows.
I was going to say, it's genuinely how I feel, and how, and like I said, I've rewatched Miss Marvel and She-Hulk. I haven't really rewatched a lot of the other ones. So then that to me right off the bat is like, well,
if there's rewatchability, it's gotta be higher.
It's going to be higher for me. And just, Miss Marvel is just one of my favorites. Favorite things, like, the MCU has put out recently, and I'm really, really excited for the Marvels. Yeah, I can't wait for that.
So again, this is the first part of a 2-week kind of special on the podcast, where we're going to be talking about all of Phase 4. Again, this one was all about the TV shows in Phase 4. Next week will be all about Phase 4 movies, and we're going to do the same format. Next week we'll be ranking them all and talking about them all. Especially we'll be able to see Black Panther for that. So I'll get
Yes.
every movie in there for that. But we'd like to hear
Yeah.
what you guys have to think or have
Yeah.
to say about your rank or what your rankings are.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I love hearing people's opinions, what they thought of the show, where it ranks for them, and yeah. So if you want to leave us a comment on that, and thanks for bearing with us. Like,
Yeah, that was a long episode.
This is a really long episode, but I feel like there was just a lot to say, and I don't know, and I think we just had a lot of fun. So if you made it this far, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun and something that I know we kind of talked about doing, and seemed like a good time for it. So
yeah, and I'm very excited. This is kind of like this big event that we have here at Team Unicorn. Like, this is a 2-week MCU Fest.
Yes.
That really speaks to one of our big fandoms that we love, and the reason why we wanted to start this podcast. So.
Yeah.
Thank you guys all for listening and subscribing and liking and commenting. Tell your friends about us. Subscribe to YouTube. We'd love to grow the community and just get to know more people. And we appreciate all the love and support that you guys have given us so far.
Thank you.
But for this episode of the Team Unicorn podcast, I'm Tyler.
And I'm Sammy.
And it's been magical.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Team Unicorn podcast. You can find us on all major podcast platforms as well as YouTube. Make sure to subscribe, like, and review wherever you are listening, and follow us on Instagram to keep up with all things Team Unicorn. And remember, stay magical.